Who thinks you should stretch before training? Jog and then stretch? Yep, so dynamic movements. All right, here's what my answer to that would be. It varies person to person. We stretch to get into better positions. We went through that on the whiteboard inside. We stretch to get into better positions to be able to generate more force. When you stretch, it reduces the strength of a muscle. So if you watch the Olympics before maybe 1984, you see the sprinters stretching before they start. As you get into the 90s, they start to jump and do more dynamic stuff before they start. That's where the science and our understanding caught up with what the human body has actually evolved to do best. So if you stretch first, you have higher rates of hamstring injuries in sprinters if you stretch prior to running 100 meters, because you're actually causing a bit of muscle damage, and your muscles are less able to resist the forces that have been placed through them when you sprint, when you use those muscles, so you get more hamstring tears. Which tells us that if you stretch first, you're not able to generate as much force. But hang on, didn't we just go through inside and say we want to fatten that length tension curve? We want to fatten that curve, which is a relationship between our muscle's ability to generate strength and force and the length of the muscle. And that in the middle range here, we're at peak strength, and at the extremes of range, we're not. So let's say that someone who did the demo for the overhead position, okay, let's say that Daryl here is super tight overhead. However, if he stretches these muscles, he's going to make the muscles weaker. So should he stretch before he lifts overhead if it's going to make the muscles weaker? So we talked about this lab-based measure of strength. You put electrodes on, how much can we squeeze the muscle, yeah? We talked about that. If Daryl does his stretching prior to doing his strict press max, it's going to reduce his muscle's ability to generate strength in a lab-based setting. So it's probably going to make his bench press less. Let's say that by stretching, if he does static stretch or PNF, if he stretches, he is going to get minus 10 muscle strength. I don't really care what 10 is. It could be kilos or coconuts or whatever you like. He's got minus 10 muscle strength. However, by doing some PNF, by doing some stretching and fattening out his length tension curve, the fact that he's now able to generate these forces at longer and shorter muscle lengths means that this is strength in a clinical lab-based setting, but actual usable strength, maybe he's going to get plus 20. So his muscles are less able to generate force, but his body is now able to go into a position where he can generate force. So even though stretching before training is going to make his muscle weaker, he's now able to get into a better position where he can use a greater percentage of that force that the muscle is able to produce. So to summarize that, should you stretch before training? Yes, if it will allow you to get into a better position. If you can get into a stronger, more stable, more efficient position that allows you to generate force against gravity better, then yes, you should. So it may be yes, but only for that, because your ankle is fine, so don't do it before you squat, but maybe your ankle dorsiflexion is terrible, but your shoulders are good, so you would, and vice versa. Okay? So yes, you should work on that. Yes, you should focus on that, but not all the time, not for every joint, not for every person.